Warning, this video contains team selection and captain choices which some viewers may find offensive.
Hey guys, and welcome back to FPL TV. Before looking at my thoughts for blank game week 29, let's see how the side performed in the previous game week. With Rashford potentially out injured last week, I chose to transfer in Gareth Bale, which did seem a fairly straightforward transfer at the time, especially with Tottenham having a fixture in blank game week 29 to come. The move ended up being very anticlimactic though, with the Welshman being subbed before 60 minutes. I mentioned in my last video that this move would see me with a triple up of Tottenham players though, and therefore a poor result from them would result in a poor game week for my side. And unfortunately that was the case, with my captain Kane blanking and also Son picking up an injury very early into the game. Despite the disappointment of all three blanking, including my captain Kane, ultimately it didn't change too much, because my only other consideration for captaincy blanked as well anyway in Bruno Fernandes. In fact, it felt like a pretty nothing game week for many FPL managers last week, with so many of the popular captain choices blanking. There was just one attacking return from my entire front seven last week, with one assist from Ollie Watkins due to a big deflection. That's 6 games without a goal for Watkins now, who continues to struggle without Grealish in the side. It feels like I've said this in so many of my videos now, but once again it was my defence that came to the rescue, and I owe so much of it as usual to the pairing of John Stones and Diaz. Antonio Rudiger also kept a clean sheet, and Chelsea continue to be extremely solid defensively. Since Tuchel took charge in game week 20, Chelsea have only conceded 2 goals in 10 Premier League games, a very impressive record. In those 10 games, they've kept the most clean sheets in that time with 8, and conceded the least big chances, the least shots on target, as well as the least shots inside the box. And if they didn't have a blank game week now coming up, I'd probably look to double up on this watertight defence. So for game week 28, it was a very forgettable game week where the team scored a mundane but respectable 47 points. It was just above the lowly average of 43, but did end in a very small red arrow, dropping around 7,000 places to 225k. Let's move on to blank game week 29 now, and look at my current team lineup as well as some potential transfer plans. Also, if you enjoy the content here at FPL TV, then be sure as always to leave a like and most importantly get subscribed. You can also hit the notification bell so you always know when a new video goes live. As I'm sure you already know, game week 29 is an extremely small blank game week, with only 8 teams playing Premier League fixtures this weekend. So let's see how the side is currently lining up with one free transfer available. The Son and Bamford injuries were certainly a big blow to the blank game week preparation, but having listened to Bielsa's response when questioned about Bamford, it does sound as if he'll hopefully be okay to make that Fulham fixture. As for Son though, it's looking far more unlikely, with Mourinho suggesting he may need the international break to recover. So, if we assume that Bamford makes it and Son doesn't, then that gives me 7 players for game week 29 with 1 free transfer to make it 8. Not amazing, but decent shape for what is probably going to be a low scoring game week anyway. For me, it's also important to consider that I don't have a wild card available anymore, so if I transfer in a player from one of these 8 teams that feature in blank game week 29, I've also got to consider if those players improve my team for the longer term as well. And amongst these 4 fixtures, there's not too many players that really jump off the page. Using the 1 free transfer, it's likely that Stuart Dallas will come in for me, who's offered returns at both ends of the park this season, with either Ben Mee or John Stones making way. This transfer would also have game week 30 in mind, with Leeds having a nice home fixture against Sheffield United following the international break. A good chance of a clean sheet there. Overall, I can't say I'm feeling too optimistic about this game week or lineup, especially with 4 of the players facing each other in the Tottenham and Aston Villa fixture. Usually in this case, the free hit would be the ideal solution, but if I do utilise the free hit chip, there's no real standout fixtures to target from the 4 games, and therefore am I really going to get the best out of that chip using it here? That's why I tried to get my team ready for this week without the free hit, and hope that chip can be better utilised at another point this season. Notably, both Man City and Tottenham blank in game week 33, and this is because that week they play each other in the League Cup final. With me currently having 6 Man City and Tottenham players, game week 33 could therefore be a better time to utilise the free hit, and that's why I'm leaning towards saving it. Otherwise, if I do use the free hit now, it's going to be a real headache manoeuvring my free transfers to game week 33, when all 6 of my Man City and Tottenham players blank. For this reason, even though I am expecting a low scoring game week this weekend, I think longer term perhaps I'll be better off saving the free hit, because from these 4 games in 29, it's hard to see from where the points will be on offer. The injuries to both Bamford and Son last week definitely made me more tempted to pull the trigger on the free hit though, so let's see how the team could line up if I did decide to go ahead with it. Of the 4 fixtures on paper, the only one that really stands out to me is Brighton at home to Newcastle, and the hopes of a good game week and therefore a successful free hit would certainly come down to them getting a result. In the last 10 game weeks, Brighton have conceded the second least goals in that time, conceding just 7 goals in their last 10 Premier League games. Incredibly, they've also conceded the least big chances over the last 10 game weeks of any team, only conceding 8 big chances in that time. Again, extremely impressive numbers. On top of that, their opponents Newcastle have only produced 13 big chances over the last 10 game weeks, with only Crystal Palace creating fewer, and we know in general the Magpies aren't a typically high scoring team. With these stats considered, I'd have to at minimum have 2 Brighton defensive options this week, and as a 1-week punt on the free hit, a triple up on their defence would also be a tempting leap of faith. Am I that confident Brighton keep a clean sheet? Not really, but it's the only fixture on paper that looks likely and has the stats to back it up too. This is exactly why playing the free hit this week doesn't have so much appeal, because I've only got so many teams to choose from, and therefore I'm relying on a few select teams to make the free hit worthwhile and outscore the players who aren't using a chip this week. In this free hit draft, the big hitters of the game week like Kane and Bale kind of pick themselves this week. But if I were to be on the free hit, then Aubameyang as the other expensive big hitter could certainly be a tempting option. With Arsenal though, selecting their assets can be very tricky because of their Europa League commitments, and therefore I'd have to see if Aubameyang starts on Thursday before being sure if I could include him in this draft. Because of these Europa League commitments and therefore a more difficult schedule for Arsenal, it's West Ham players that I'd also be looking towards for a successful free hit. Jesse Lingard has been in superb form for West Ham since signing for them, and he's a player that back in his United days always loved a goal against Arsenal, so he'd be one of the first players in my free hit draft this week. For the captaincy this week, it feels quite straightforward, with Harry Kane the one outstanding reliable choice that I trust. However, Tottenham still have to play the Europa League on Thursday, so I'll need to see how Spurs play in that one before finalising the captaincy decision. Harry Kane will no doubt be by far the highest captain player this game week, but that also presents a chance to try and go against the grain. In my current squad, it's Rafinha who is probably my next favourite candidate, who could present a nice differential against Fulham. My only concern there is Fulham have defended a lot better in recent games, and in my current team there's no real other outstanding option than Harry Kane. So that's all my thoughts heading into Game Week 29. The most likely outcome is that I don't use the free hit chip this week, but it's something I'll continue to weigh up before the deadline. And as always, if you'd like to see the final team lineup, then you can do so over on the FPL TV Twitter page shortly before that Game Week deadline. Good luck to you all for the upcoming game week, FPL responsibly, and I'll catch you all very soon.